brother? Mainstream media? Government cover-ups? You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Okay, that said, for the rest of the hour, we've got Bob Chapman with us. At a time before he retired, the biggest gold and silver private broker in the world. He also had the largest financial newsletter in the world. Then he retired. He's come back in the last decade and has one of the biggest yet again, the internationalforecaster.com. And I wanted to get him on today about The Economist, one of the most prestigious financial publications, saying U.S. in depression, not recession. Bob Chapman, great to have you here in the new year, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. It's great to be back again. A little hiatus this week. And first of all, that is a very important and unusual statement to be coming from The Economist. I can't quite figure out what they're after here. They're telling the truth, which is not normal for them because that publication is Illuminous controlled. And so there has to be another agenda here. Maybe they're preparing everybody for a depression. Maybe they want them to know that, in fact, that's where we're headed. And
they want to maintain their moral. They want to maintain their moral authority as if they told us, as if they weren't working for the very system that engineered it.
Yes, that would give them validity in something that was very well known among people who listen to your program and programs like it. And but the rest of the public doesn't know, so they're going to tell them. And, of course, that's justification, too, for the massive layoffs, the cutbacks in state services, which are being thrust upon them by inadequate preparation, being led down the garden path investment-wise, the freezing up of the municipal bond market, the over-hiring and overspending that's been going on in states for a long time, and all of the things that come part and parcel with the downfall of the economy. And that leads us to, where are we headed? We have a new president, if in fact he takes office, which he probably will, whether he's a citizen or not. And the plan is for $1 trillion for domestic stimulus in a number of different areas.
And that'll be select payoffs to certain members of the establishment and different divisions of the economy so they play ball.
Exactly. And, of course, the drug and medical profession will be taken well care of with $100 billion extension into Medicaid, of which there's 50 million people on right now. And with the layoffs come the losing of company benefits, whether your health insurance is paid for by the company, by you and the company, or just by you. The fact that you've fallen out of the group means you don't have it anymore, and then you've got to visit Medicaid.
So it's a domino effect.
Yes, the figure could go to 60 or 70 million people pretty easily because you get children involved, et cetera, not just the employee. And so that is part of the stimulus package. And as you say, the stimuli, we'll use the Latin word for that, the stimuli will, in fact, go to, or the largesse will go to the anointed people within the elitist system.
To further centralize the entire control grid. Why do we have the Prime Minister of Canada coming out and saying depression? Why do we have, seeing a lot of elite spokesmen and publications now saying depression? And we go back to 10 weeks ago when the tens of trillions of theft began. I say tens of trillions, the last number's 8.5 trillion 3 weeks ago. They've been keeping it secret since then, but it was $1.3 trillion a week, so I guess it's up to 11, 12 trillion of the trends continuing. Well, I guess we'll find out sometime in the future what the shadow banking government's doing. The news is openly admitting it's a Wall Street coup. Mainline analysts are admitting that foreign offshore banks are taking over. We have, and I want your take on this, Bob, your analysis here. We have all of this unfolding, and we had them 11 10.5 weeks ago saying, if you don't do this bailout, we're going to have a depression. And that was finally what really sent the economy down and destroyed confidence. Right there, they were engaging in financial terrorism, which it appears is accelerating the downfall.
Well, I think what you have here is a Hegeling approach, and that is the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, etc. And the 2 steps forward, of course, is the onrushing depression, and the 1 step back would be the stimulus, which is not only coming soon from the new administration, but also the stimulus that's been involved in the figures I put out 3 months ago of over $10 trillion when everybody was talking about $50 billion. And I raised my figure to 12 to 13, and now it's over 20. I mean, we don't know where it's going. And they're just going to throw money at anything. And that money in the form of monetization, which means it'll get into the system and be inflationary, will start hitting probably in March, April, May. And I expect there'll be some kind of a rally in the market because of the anticipation of the stimulus package, which is really peanuts compared to what's being spent or created otherwise. And I think this coming year will be a giant year for gold and silver. Commodities will recover. Inflation will be rampant. And toward the end of the year, perhaps as early as May or June, we'll see a turn down on the market again. And I think that the lows of just recent time, which are around 7,400, and back in 2003 was 7,268, I think that'll be broken. I don't think anything Bob, that can hold a system down.
Bob, on record, you did say a month or so ago when it was down there at 7,000 that it was going to go back up to 9, and then you predicted, going from memory, that it's going to then go down to 4, correct?
It could in stages.
But I mean, you have been saying for several months that you see it.
That's right.
In March of next year, even rallying more, but then we'll find out when you believe it's going to implode, and then how you're coming up with a $20 billion number. Stay with us, or 20 trillion, excuse me. In the first week of December, the Associated Press and San Francisco Chronicle financial writers reported that $8.5 trillion had been taken by the private Federal Reserve, and they would not tell anyone where it went. Lawsuits were filed by Bloomberg, and the feds said no one will be told, not even Congress, as if Congress isn't above the executive. Yeah, it's not equal powers. If you really study the founding of this nation and even state laws and legislatures, they create the courts. They are above the courts. The executive is the weakest. But side issue, for 3+ weeks, we've gotten no new numbers that I know of. Bob Chapman only focuses really on the financial and reads scores of publications a day. Bob, you're always conservative. Where do you come up with the number that $20 trillion has been stolen? Or, projecting from what it was, $1.3 trillion a week, that would have us at about 11.5 to 12 trillion right now. Are you saying you think it'll go to 20 trillion? Or are you saying you believe it's already at 20 trillion?
No, my figure right now is projected presently at 12 to 13. And it could go over 20 very easily. They have to continue to create money and credit, and I suspect what they're doing is they're creating treasury bills. They're not selling them in the marketplace. I think that they're using them as collateral for companies. In other words, they're giving.
Well, they've said that they're leveraging it.
Well, yeah, but in what way? I haven't seen an explanation as to how they're doing that.
No, they're secretive. I mean, you saw the New York Times 2 weeks ago where they said, oh, by the way, the Fed's going to issue its own secret bonds that have the same value as Treasury. Yes,
and I suspect that they've gone ahead and done that before they even announced it. And so the amount of money that is out there in the form of treasuries and loans and the acceptance of rotten collateralization and the creation of money is far beyond what we know. The estimates I've given you are conservative. When I said 10 trillion, everybody laughed, and it was 50 or so billion, and of course we're up there already. And they're fighting an underlying deflation, and they've been doing that for over 5 years. And most of the impetus has been done for solving that problem, suppressing the deflationary aspects of the economy by increasing money and credit. Now they've lowered the interest rates down to virtually zero to throw in a helping hand. Of course, that situation is terminal because they can't go any lower.